Every girl has that one relationship that makes her question everything she is, her worth, her caliber. And every girl has moments in her really bad relationship that she can't even tell her best friend about because it's that bad. And we've all been there. We've all been there, the kind of heartbreak that makes our world go quiet, the kind of disappointment that just makes us question what we even want and whether we can even be worthy of receiving those things. It makes you take a really good look at yourself in the mirror. Like, why were you even there in the first place? What made you want to stay and look past the red flags that you knew were there? You knew they were there. You chose to look past it. And that's the thing, we can never really and truly lie to ourselves because we know what we did and why we did it deep down. And that bad, poor experience taught you to never ignore your gut again, your intuition, your female intuition. And maybe that's the point. Perhaps all these negative experiences, relationships, situationships, all these things happen to teach you just that. Perhaps they were a gift, a painful one, yes, but a gift nonetheless. Okay, besties, let's talk about how the worst relationship of your life actually happened to be the best thing that's ever happened to you. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to your safe space. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Maryam and on my channel we talk about all things self-love, fashion, lifestyle, becoming the best version of yourself. And today we're talking about heartbreak and why it's important for you to have bad relationships in your 20s or perhaps in your late teens. And if you aren't subscribed already, now would be the perfect time to subscribe. And also, side note, make sure you're following me on Instagram because I am working on a very secret project and it's gonna launch very, very soon in about a month. And I cannot wait to share with you guys. So follow me on Instagram to ensure you don't miss out. Okay, let's start by talking about why you were even in that awful relationship in the first place. What pressured you to even get into that? What made you even want to be in one? Was it perhaps you were more attached to the idea of being in a relationship like all of your friends, like all of your peers, like how most people in your age group are in one at that stage of their lives? Perhaps you were more attached to that than the actual relationship you were in. That's possible. And girly pop. I'm 26 years old now, but I had a phase in my life where I very much too fell into that trap. Social clock theory is the psychological phenomenon where people feel the pressure or the need to hit certain milestones at certain chapters or time frames in their lives just to be part of the norm that they've created in their minds. And it's also when you're at that stage in your life where everyone in your friend group is like in a relationship or in a long-term relationship and you're here still trying to figure things out, and that leads you to fall into social conformity. It's when you try to mirror the people around you so you don't feel like you're being left behind, so you don't feel like you're being left out. And that's the quote-unquote pressure you feel when it comes to wanting to or feel like you need to be in a relationship when really all you're feeling is the pressure. Pressure should not be the indicator of wanting to be in a relationship. It should be a sign that you're not doing it for the right reasons. Especially in your early 20s, your social identity is still forming, so we're more susceptible to fall into traps such as comparing ourselves or our timelines to our friends around us. So if you see everyone around you coupled up, booed up, your brain starts to think that you're being left behind or you're left out, and hence that pressure forms and it makes you make not the best choices. Take it from me. There was a time where I had finished university, I'd finished my degrees, and I was ready to, look for the one. That's what everyone talks about. Once you're done with university, you look for the one and you settle down. And so that's the idea that I was in love with in my head. That was a narrative that I would always replay in my mind, and it subconsciously led me to make decisions that was not the best ones for me. I vividly and distinctly remember a time where my intuition was telling me to run and get out of the relationship or the person I was talking to, that situation I was in, but I didn't because being with that person meant that I was closer to the narrative I had in my mind, and so I chose to ignore some really awful signs. I will talk about that later in the video in our intuition bit. Society romanticizes being in a relationship as a milestone of success, especially for women in South Asian households or immigrant households. It's a universal experience for all women around the world, but especially in South Asian households, it's like this cultural thing where they just expect you to get married really, really young, and if you don't, you feel the pressure of, being seen as expired. I mean, it's a real thing. And that gets amplified, that feeling of being not good enough, when your worth gets attached to external or extrinsic forces, like, what this auntie, this friend, that friend is saying about you. When the external world's narrative starts to define how you feel about yourself, That's how you know your self-worth is coming from external forces, and it shouldn't. It should always come from within you, intrinsic, so that no one can ever take it away from you. And the last reason we feel like we have to be in a relationship is literally through a scarcity mindset. It's when you think there isn't enough people out there isn't enough time, there isn't enough this, isn't enough that. It's when you're in a scarce mindset, that's when you start to feel the pressure. It's because of the stories you're telling yourself. And when you tell yourself all these things, your brain literally has a filter called an RAS, an reticular activating system, and it starts to filter out information to match the belief you have that everything is scarce. But when you change that belief, when you change the belief in your brain starts to operate in a whole different way. And psychologists actually say that late bloomers in love actually end up in more fulfilling and more healthy relationship dynamics because they've taken time to know themselves, to learn themselves, to pour into themselves. So there are a lot of pros to waiting, but they're not really talked about much because it doesn't fit with the general narrative around the world. Okay, girlie, now we know why we were probably in that awful relationship in the first place, but now it might feel, or it might sound counterintuitive, but let's talk about why you had to be there and why that had to happen and why that was one of the best things that's ever happened to you. Because girl, let's not forget, you are the main character. You are the main character of your story. That means things don't happen to you. They happen for you. They happen for you to reach a whole new level of growth. That bad relationship didn't happen to you. It happened for you to know yourself better, to meet a softer version of yourself, to meet a stronger version of yourself, to meet a more emotionally intelligent version of yourself. Things happen for you and not to you. Bad relationships turn you from emotionally dependent to emotionally intelligent. And that's a glow up we love to see. And how do you know you're in that really, really awful, that really bad relationship that you know you shouldn't be in? It's when certain things happen in the relationship, certain things they say or they do, they're just so bad that you cannot even confide in your own best friend. We all know how female friendships are. We tell each other everything and anything that's bothering us. But when it gets to a point when it's that bad, you cannot even bring it up to your friends because you feel embarrassed. You feel like you're losing respect with every single word coming out of your mouth. That's when you know you're in that really awful relationship. Because female friendships are such a safe space. We can tell each other anything and everything with no hesitation. But here's the thing, that rock bottom moment you feel when you realize you can't even tell your best friend what's going on, that becomes a very significant moment. That becomes a moment where you can actually take a good look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself what the hell you're doing. Why the hell are you still there? You finally look at yourself in the mirror and you realize that this isn't love. This is just self-abandonment at its finest. Moments like this really push you to learn and to reevaluate your standards, the things you will allow, the things you won't allow, the things that you will just not let fly. This is where you learn who you are, what you will tolerate, what you won't tolerate. And this is where you learn that in the face of adversity, you're always going to be there for yourself. And that level of self-trust that you build when you realize that you're in an awful relationship and you know you're going to get yourself out of it, that level of self-trust is golden. It's literally so precious. And only if you've been there, or only if you're in that right now, you know how valuable it really is. It's that feeling of knowing that, okay, I'm here, but I can get myself out of this. It's hard, it's gonna suck, I'm gonna cry, but it's gonna be okay because I've got me now. You've got you now. This is also where you stop chasing potential and you start looking for actual concrete qualities that are not just in the air, they're actually there. They're not just potential realities. This is where you learn to set standards, not from romance novels, not from the movies, not from X or Y person. It's from your own personal experience. It's from your own personal pain. Because we're all so different. Something that will hurt you may not hurt me the same way, and vice versa. Something that will bring you joy may not bring me joy in the same way. We're all so different, and so when you are in these negative experiences, you learn so much about yourself. And we always think we know ourselves best, but girly pop, you can always learn more and more about yourself. And that's why I fully believe that every girl needs to have that one awful relationship in her 20s. Alright, girly, and now let's talk about how heartbreak, how negative experiences transform you and strengthens your intuition. Your intuition is one of the biggest gifts you have. When negative things happen to you, negative experiences, situationships, bad relationships, it only shows you how much you should actually trust yourself, your intuition, your gut. It's never wrong. How many times do we kick ourselves because we're like, oh, I should listen to my gut, I should listen to my intuition. You know its power, you know it's valuable. Before you learn the value of your intuition, the way you're operating, especially in your early 20s or in your late teens, is through what you think or what you see as cool. Oh, it's cool to go after bad boys. It's cool to, you know, date multiple people at the same time. It's cool to do this. It's cool to just have a boyfriend. It's cool. You're always looking at what's cool to do. That's sort of like your compass that you use to decide what your next step should be. Is it cool to do this these days? Is it good to do that? Does this look aesthetic? Does this feel aesthetic? I mean, your life decisions are literally based off the things that you find cool or worth doing based off optics. It's true. A big proportion of what we do in our early 20s, late teens are things that we deem as attractive to look at. And you often ignore your gut feeling just for the thrill. That is a part of growing up. But the point I'm trying to make is that the source, what you use to make decisions at first, is looking at things that are cool, but really what you should be looking at is how you're feeling, your gut feeling. Because it can never, ever be wrong. I once heard this phrase where it said gut feelings are guardian angels, and honestly, it's gorgeous. View your gut feeling as a protection from God. In your early days, you mistake chaos for passion, drama for, you know, that butterflies kind of love. You chase butterflies. Like Halsey said in one of my favorite songs, the warning signs can feel like the butterflies. Because you're meant to feel at peace. You're meant to feel good, cozy, warm. That's how you're meant to feel around the people that are meant to be in your life. Not this uneasy feeling, not butterflies. And in your early 20s or late teens, you listen to your friends or family or this person, that person more than you listen to yourself. Because you don't trust yourself. You haven't developed that self-trust with yourself yet. So why would you trust yourself? You would obviously look at other people, right? Exactly. My point being, when you go through rough times, you learn to self-trust. You learn to trust yourself because you're forced to be put in a position where you have to. And so you learn to look at yourself, look inwards and see what you want over what other people are saying. And so that's how you were functioning before trusting your intuition. But when heartbreak happens, when all these negative experiences happen, you learn to trust your intuition. You learn that love shouldn't feel as survival. It shouldn't feel like you're having to change yourself. You know, that whole
black cat golden retriever thing.
You know, people talk about more about that later in the video. You learn that you don't have to change yourself in order to attract someone you want. I mean, yes, good change is good, becoming a better version of yourself, being a better communicator, but you don't have to change the essence of who you are. Your glow, how happy, how excited you get about things, how bubbly you are. You don't have to dim that down just to be a black cat in a relationship. When the heartbreak hits, you stop performing and you start being. You no longer feel drained and exhausted all the time because you're not putting on a mask. You're just being who you are. Human beings, not human doings. You're not doing the most. You're just being who you are. And when you realize that you've hit rock bottom and you need to actually make a decision now, you need to make a change, that's when your self-trust is built. That's when you start to look inwards. And that's where all the magic happens. And then slowly but surely your intuition becomes your compass. You start looking inwards, you start sensing energy, you start to sense whether a person will be good for you or not. You don't feel the need to have proof, you just know when something's off, and that's it. You don't feel like you have to over-explain yourself because you know the power of your intuition. And you have no issue being called too much, too difficult, too picky,
too this, too that,
because you know you're valuing and honoring yourself. I don't know about you guys, but it always feels like whenever I open my phone, there's always something new being pushed to the girlies about like, act in this way, do this, do that, black cat energy, golden retriever energy. You know, there's always something being pushed to us like, do this, act in this way, do that. And people are always like, oh yeah,
I need to act in a certain way so that he likes me more. I need to, you know, be more distant.
I mean, honestly, it's all so unnecessary and it's all so exhausting. And honestly, I call bullshit. And if you haven't heard about the black cat versus golden retriever energy, it's basically when a woman is meant to be more like low-key, like not show too much affection, and the man's meant to be more showing affection. I mean, I see why people love this notion and love the, you know, whole dynamic, but it just tricks a woman who's very loving and very bubbly and very, you know, giving to shrink herself. She might feel like, oh, I should, you know, dim my light, when the point is that you need to be the best version of yourself. You'll be you, I'll be me, and together we'll be us. That should be the only thing on your mind. We don't have to mold and bend and twist ourselves into something we're not, because you're always going to end up feeling burnt out when you're not being who you're actually meant to be, because we're human beings, not human doings. Stop doing the most. And you learn through bad relationships that you don't need to change who you are. You don't need to play these games, these texting games of, oh, he took an hour to respond, let me take 2 hours. He took 2 hours, let me take 4 hours. You stop doing all these performative things, because say for example you do that and then like you're with this person and then you revert back to yourself. What happens then? There's a whole new dynamic that they did not sign up for. It's the opposite of clear communication. You communicated something else earlier on and then later on you transition into someone else, and now that just changes the dynamic, and then you wonder why relationships don't work. It's because you're never being authentically you. Have the courage to be yourself authentically. That's when you will actually attract the right kinds of people. Perhaps you're always ending up in these awful relationships because you're not being yourself, so you're not attracting your person, because you yourself are doing them a disservice by not showing up as yourself. So how do you expect to attract your person when you don't even show up as your own self? And so you need to tune out all the noises, all the things people are telling you to do this, do that. I mean, yes, there are some bare minimums like communication, respect, honesty, loyalty that we should always have no matter what, but don't change the essence of who you are. You don't need to shrink or soften yourself to fit into someone's idea of love. You are you, and no one else can be you. No one has lived your life. No one has your playlist, your music taste, your fashion sense, your childhood experiences, your emotional intelligence, your whole palette of life. No one has lived it. Literally no one except you. So all you have to do is be the best version of yourself. And always remember, the right relationship does not require a whole 180 personality shift. In fact, heartbreak or bad relationship, they teach you that self-betrayal is the biggest red flag. And if you made it to this part of the video, let me share a personal story. Basically, there was one time where I was out with a guy. We were talking and then he shared a story with me that literally made me go like, ew, like I need to like get out of this. This is awful. And it's basically he was telling me about a time that he was so proud about. He was like, oh, one time I was talking to two girls and we're meant to meet on the same day. And I really wanted to meet girl A, let's call her girl A, but she was being a bit quiet. So then I ended up meeting girl B. But then girl A texted me an hour before I was meant to meet girl B. So I just blocked girl B and went with girl A. This girl was ready and showing up at where they're meant to meet, and he just blocked her, ghosted her, and went with the other girl. My point is, it's the lack of communication. It's being boastful about that kind of stuff. It was honestly so bad. It was honestly awful. That told me I need to get out of this, because this is just, I cannot be with someone who thinks talking about this or even sharing the story is something worth sharing. Like, you should be embarrassed by what you did. It's having moments like this. I didn't even feel comfortable telling my friends, because my friends would be like,
why are you even going out with them?
And they're right. And they're so right. It's moments like this when things are just so weird and so bad that you cannot even tell your best friends. That's when you know you're in something bad. And we've all been there. No judgment here. I love you guys so much, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video because I really enjoyed filming it. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
You're gone now. Will you come